Hello everyone, as I promised, we're going to be talking about defending through a video before block 2 in 2 weeks. So the idea with this video here is through a game, not just highlights, but through a game, discuss about the principles of defending we've been working in our course. So we're going to be watching this game here. It was a Brazilian league here, just going to let it go for now. It's a Brazilian league, Corinthians in white and Atlético, the club actually that played in Brazil, in red, playing this year National League. So we're going to be visiting the principles of defending we've been discussing. I'm going to make a few comments. I'm going to have a quick chat here about the points we've been so far. Remember, the focus of this is purely defending. And then any question, any comments you want, please share with us or send to me if you prefer not to share that. So if you remember, we start working on the two main pillars of defending, what's where to defend and how to defend. Let's have a quick look here on both teams and try to identify their behavior on those two main pillars. So where they want to defend and how they want to defend. Remember, I put on a slide where we have lines in the court to help your players understand where they need to defend or where you want them to defend. Remembering in relation if your opposition goal, line 1 will be the closest to the opponent's goal, line 2, line 3, line 4 backing. So that's what I share with you. Just go on there for Atlético. So let's have a quick look how Corinthians and Atlético are defending and where they are defending as well. Okay, ready to go. 1-0 Atlético, as you can see. It's important to put the context as well. So losing the game, 40 seconds gone, you're losing 1-0. So clearly you can see here the Atlético team is defending. They are defending on line 2. Remember, if you think about the red team, they are defending this side here. So line 1 will be very, very high. Line 2, line 3, and line 4. So you can see here they are clearly on line 2. So in terms of where, they probably got this clear in today's strategy. They are defending line 2. Let's see how they are defending them. So dropping by, there's a foul in them. So they now line 3, but whenever they have chance, they are trying to move forward, as you can see. What's interesting to see here is in terms of how, you see in the last few seconds here, they are not tackling the ball. They are attacking the space, they are covering the spaces, but they are not tackling. They are not trying to dive into the player to get the ball. They are what we call it, they are marking the space. They are not marking the ball. They are not attacking the ball. So they are happy to stay there. They are happy to be controlling that space between the players. So where and how the two main pillars that we are starting. Let's have a look in Corinthians now, the team in white, how they are defending. So you can see they are clearly starting on line 2 as well. Very, very similar, I would say. Again, remember the active and passive defending. So they are not attacking the ball. They are attacking the space. That was a great 1-2 in there. And of course, I recover running back in there. So where and how we discussed in our course are the two main pillars to start our discussion about defending. So when you plan, when you design when you put together your team or your strategy or your plan, you need to know that you need to answer those two questions. So where do you want to defend and how do you want to defend? Just a quick just to remember the how to defend. We're going to be talking about active and passive. The active, of course, you're going to be attacking the ball as much as you can. Situations like losing the game, time the game is finishing, you need to go to the ball. And the passive is pretty much what we can see both teams. Context is important. 2 minutes gone through the first half, plenty to play. They probably don't want to make any fouls or concede goals, so they are very careful on that. So you can see both teams on the passive defending, letting the team out got the ball. So this is a clear example, as you can see here. They are not attacking the ball, they're just protecting, marking the spaces and the passes there as well. Now moving to the roles. So we now know where to defend, we know how we're going to defend. Of course, the active and passive gonna obey the triggers. If you see triggers to attack the ball, of course you're gonna do, but in terms of principle, you know what you want to do. Moving on for the roles, we're gonna be talking about the two main roles we got when you're defending. I'll just move a bit now. We got now fly keeper in the game, so it's a little bit different here. But we have the player marking the player with the ball and the player marking the player without the ball. So let's have a quick look here the behavior of the players in this situation. So again, they put the keeper on the game, so let's just have a look when they go there. So as you can see here, this is the player marking the player with the ball, and this is a player marking the player without the ball, player marking a player without the ball, and so on. It's slightly different in this context here because they have the fly keeper or the goalkeeper playing the attacking half, change slightly your behavior, but that's the main, the two roles of a defender in a game. So look, especially when Atlético get the ball, like now, we can see a bit better that those two roles in the game. So marking the player the ball, marking the player without the ball. Your players need to know that. They need to know the behavior change in there. So as you can see here, I am marking the player with the ball, I am marking the player without the ball, I am marking the player without the ball. Okay, so talking about the phases of the game when you're defending, so you're going to be talking about the positional defense, when you got everyone behind the ball, balanced and organized. We're going to have the transition, you're going to have the set plays and the special situations, as you saw before. We saw before with the a fly keeper in there as well. So let's have a quick look now with in this game here. Let's have a quick chat about those main the pillars or principles, and try to identify the principles that we've been working. If you remember the principles, I hope you do. Behind the ball, go side, man marking, and the approach. So that's the principles we need to look at. Just bear in mind the man marking is, if you remember, I mentioned to you, it's not necessarily the whole time, it's not necessarily everywhere. So you're going to have loads of different situations where you can discuss that. So behind the ball, as you can see here, so every player behind the ball, so you can say that's the ball, that's an imaginary line we got here. So your players need to be behind the ball every time, unless specific situations like game finishing or numerical advantage, for example, when a player is sent off and things like that. But that's something that you need to help your kids to understand that. In this game here, we need everyone behind the ball. Let's have a look in this principle here, how both teams behave regarding getting behind the ball. So that's keeper's ball. Let's have a look how Corinthians behave regarding running back and get behind the ball. can see here kick-ins is quite clear because they get automatically all behind the ball. And look, you can see the run of that number 9. He managed to get behind the ball. Even if he moved forwards with the ball pass, you see what he did. First thing that he did was to run back and try to recover. What's important to say is, of course, this player here, what you cannot see very well, it's marking a player that's far away. So look where the ball is coming here. That player is sliding. So that's why it's important to have that support coming there. Next topic we're going to be talking, next principle we're going to be talking, the goal side. That's another interesting one we're going to see in a second. They're not going to be flat in the court regardless. They're going to be in between the goal and the player. So when you say goal side, I was explaining before, is where the defender will position himself in the game without possession, of course, in relation of his own goal. So it's pretty much like football. You're going to be asking your players to position themselves in that. So you can see this position here. He cannot go further than that. He's a bit, even take a little bit of he's gambling a bit here because you have the space between those two players. He could even be here to be in a diagonal line between his player and the goal. So that's what we ask our players to be, unless you have any specific strategy. But that's what we expect. So this player here, marking, this player here cannot be here, need to be in a goal line. So in a goal side, in between the goal and the player. So behind the ball, as we spoke before, goal side. Let's have a look on the man marking now to see how both teams behaving regarding the man marking. Let's have a look if both teams follow the man, and if not, which kind of strategy they're using to stop following the man, what we call the chains or the mixed marking. Let's have a look in both teams now. I'll let you have the video bit. Remember, always important to take in consideration the context as well. Yeah, 1-0, half of the first half, so plenty to play, 1-0. So of course that impacts on the team behavior, the player behavior as well. Let's have a look. So let's have a look on these two players here. So he passed the ball. The team in red, Atlético, really well positioned themselves behind the ball. He passed. Let's have a look on those two players, they behaving, see what happened. See, he's still following his man. You see what happened with this player here? He dropped and covered the space. So we talk about man marking. But just remembering the two principles we discussed before: get behind the ball, goal side, and man marking. Today, in these days, the high-level futsal in the world, it's mainly man marking. The zonal defending it's not really well used, and when it's used, you're going to be on specific situations and specific areas. Normally, when you're pressing, you can have a specific zonal behavior. But that zonal defending at the back, it's not in a high level though, not being used lately. So you cannot defend in zone anymore as we used to, because teams are getting really well to break the zone defending. So let's have a look at Atlético as well. Again, so line 2, they are not being active, they are passive, they are winning the game. Half of the first half, man marking here, goal side, you see this guy here, he's not here. He is in diagonal line with the player protecting the goal. Same for this player here, he's not too close. He is protecting that area. They are man marking. Let's have a look. Look at this number 8 here. Again, this is his player, so he's not closing there. he is protecting again this area, trying to create lines instead of follow and leave the space behind. Goalkeeper's cover. Okay, we're getting to the end of this video here, guys. I want you to send any question you got regarding the feigning. Remember, the attacking in possession we're going to be discussing in our next block in a few days. But send me any message, any question you got regarding what we've been discussing before. So the main thing I want you to remember when you're coaching our kids, when you're coaching our players, when you're preparing our sessions, to watch the games, identify the principles that you can see, get behind the ball, what you can see pretty much 99% of the time, that's what happened. So the game is telling us that players need to behave in that way. The goal side, same with that. The man marking, what's the modern futsal is asking players to be good on that, so they can do zonal, but the zonal is a more complicated and complex system. So they need to be good on man marking. They need to understand the roles of marking the player with the ball, marking the player without the ball, and they need to understand the approach. So when to attack the ball, how to get into the space, how to get into the ball, because it's different. If you just let your players dive into the ball all the time, they're going to be beating all the time, and they're going to create a numerical disadvantage, and we're going to have problems here. Okay, so let's have another last minute here watching this video here with a quick chat about Corinthians defending, and then I'm gonna let you now in this video here, and then it's out. So you can see here 1H. This play he's taking a little bit of risk staying there. Remember, we need to understand the context. Might be the case, might say, well, don't drop too much. Let them go on a 3v3 here, because if you win the ball, we can have a counter-attack, and that might be the reason. But the recover now, as you can see, behind the ball straight away. His play is not even in the screen. His play is over there. And now they need to start getting to the ball again, line 2, and attack the ball. So he saw the trigger, he tried to attack the ball, he forced the pass on the side, but they're doing really well playing to get out of the pressure. Right, let me know if you have any question. More than happy to help you. If you're not, I see you on the 22nd, 23rd of September. Just remember, 12th of September, Wednesday, we got CPD in Hull. We're going to be talking about why futsal can help the football development. And the 16th of September, we have a CPD here in York when you play a game. So it's going to be more match. It's going to be a match experience. It's going to be a match preparation. You're going to play York City. You're going to play University of Nottingham or Nottingham University. So you're more than welcome to come as well. The links are somewhere in this group here. Let me know if you need any help. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you have enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.